Councilmember Walsh.
Here.
Councilmember Garola.
Here.
Councilmember West.
Here.
Councilmember Edberg.
Here.
Councilmember Engstrand.
Here.
And Mary Nikolowski.
Here. Will you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone, here and online. I'd like to start by inviting everyone for a moment of silence this morning, or this evening, to remember Alex Preddy and Renee Good. As public servants, we bear a responsibility to recognize the gravity of these lives lost tragically and the impact they have on our families and neighbors. Let us pause now to remember the fallen and to stand in solidarity with those who continue to grieve. Thank you. Our next item, item 2A, approval of the minutes of the January 13th meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, the agenda. Does anyone have any changes? Oh, sorry. Item 2B, minutes of the City Council work session on January 20th, 26.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, the agenda. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to the agenda? Nope. Seeing none, second. Is there a further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, the consent agenda. Does anyone have any changes? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. Item 5A, Immigration and Customs Briefing. I want to begin this part of item 5. I want to begin by acknowledging that there are law-abiding citizens and people in our community right now who are afraid to go out into the streets of our very own city because of the color of their skin. As mayor of the city, I find that extremely appalling and concerning. Our children's sense of security, trust, and learning are being affected right now. Some of our businesses' ability to operate are being affected right now. And there are people, including children, living in fear right here in White Bear Lake. As elected officials, we are responsible for setting a climate of transparency, trust, and safety in White Bear Lake. It has been deeply frustrating to me to see outside forces come into our community and disrupt the peace and trust we all value, particularly when the legal actions available to us are very limited. Tonight, we have asked our police chief to join us to discuss the role of our police department during this unprecedented time. I want to thank Chief for being here this evening and for his leadership over the past several weeks. Chief.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, thank you for having me here tonight to discuss this topic. You said brief, and that's what this will be, at least initially. I wanted to just talk about what our interaction has been with immigration officials here in the city of White Bear Lake. We've had, since the beginning, since the middle of December 2025, so we went back to, because it was kind of the beginning of the ramp up here in Minnesota. went back to take a look at all the calls that were related to immigration officials, and we found 10. One was this afternoon, but we found 9 others. And of the 10, 6 were calls of citizens calling us just to say, I think I see folks in the area that match a description that they believed were maybe ICE employees or ICE individuals. And so we responded to those incidents like we do with every time the citizen were to call us about this type of behavior, we respond to the area to see what's going on. 6 of the 10 were that, and we didn't find anything there. Presumably, if there was something there, they moved along or something like that. It seems to be there's 2 geographical areas that those federal agents congregated around. One, an apartment complex on the south end, and then one, a set of apartment complexes on the north end. And that's where all of those 6 calls were to. We've had as indicated, we had 4 other calls that were in residential neighborhoods, and it was a variety of they were there to pick up somebody at a house, neighbors called in, or the member of the house called in for our assistance. We had 2 of those. And then we had one where there was a traffic stop made, and we were called by the driver of the car just to verify that they were being stopped, why they were being stopped. They wanted us to come and mitigate or intercede a little bit on that. So we went up there and just helped to mitigate that situation. And then one was a call where they were sitting on a house, and the person ran from the house, ran into another house, and the agents went into that house to arrest that person. So all of the incidents that we responded to were either suspicious activities or an arrest was made. We didn't assist with the rest. The one incident, we were there just to help try to defuse the scenario, and we did successfully. And other than that, besides the obvious just activity surrounding ICE with the student walkout and the protests that, kind of pop up over here on 4th and 61, besides those activities, that's all we've had to do with ICE in the last month and a half. I'm open to any questions if anybody has any.
Does anyone have any questions for the chief?
Mayor, if I may. Chief, could you explain the role of the police department, just in general? I know that we have a policy on that, and I think maybe that might be good for the community to understand that policy a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor, City Manager Crawford. We do have a policy 413, is located on our website, Police Department website, and it's a White Bear Lake Police Department immigration violations policy. Just in short, our policy is that we don't enforce immigration law. We have no part of that. Our goal, if ever called to incidents like that, are very clear, written into our policy, that we are to provide support services if needed, and those support services generally fall in the categories of traffic control or peacekeeping. So our goal is to ensure that all residents and all visitors to our city are safe, and that is our number one goal when we respond to a scene. And the few that we've responded to where there was an actual incident happening, that's exactly what we did. We just did our best to ensure that either the people that called or the individuals that maybe were the subject of this activity, that everything turned out safe for them, at least while they're in the city of White Bear Lake, while we had control over it.
Go ahead, she's got one. Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, just watching the news and just looking for points of confusion. One of the clarity we maybe could get from you, Chief, is just prisons and jails and prisoners. And if you could just explain. I mean, White Bear Lake does not have a jail. So there's this idea of cooperation, everything about cooperation and people that might be in a jail or a prison. Maybe you could just educate folks on where everybody is in terms of that incarceration.
Sure, Councilman Walsh. I think that, I think there is some confusion about what exactly. I don't pretend to know what the federal government is asking of me or of local government or local law enforcement. I know we don't have a jail. We don't house anybody in the city of White Bear Lake, nor do I think any. Certainly the majority of municipal police departments don't jail anybody. They all go to the sheriff's office. I believe there's 85 jails in the county of the 87 counties, but I think there's 85, somewhere in that ballpark. They are the only, local law enforcement that would ever jail anybody. So we don't have any access, we don't have any control over that. Our policy states that when we arrest somebody that we fear may fit into whatever we want to call an undocumented individual, we have no part to play in informing anybody of their status or recording their status. It's none of our concern, and that's up for the sheriff and the jail and the state and federal partners to deal with.
Thank you.
Councilmember West.
So our city has made community policing a priority. Our police department has a high level of training and leadership, has done an excellent job of showing up regularly at community events, and has welcomed the community to get to know more through the Citizens Police Academy. The way this police department interacts with the community has built trust with the department. Not everybody has the same experience with the federal law enforcement that some people have, but ICE in our community has led to many community members to feel less safe. I worry about ICE in our community discouraging people from calling 911, from reporting domestic violence, and from seeking mental and physical health care. I also worry about how it's impacting our trust with your department, with our White Bear Lake Police Department. I come from a 20-year law enforcement family, and I can only imagine the stress that you and your officers are under now that they weren't under even 2 months ago. So I guess my question to you is, how are you handling this? What is it like for you and your officers right now?
Councilmember West, thank you for that question. Interesting, Monday, we all come back to work after kind of a crazy weekend that we all witnessed, mostly on the news. And there was some somber moments in roll call, to be honest. People are kind of just thinking, what's next? And those of us that were a little longer in the tooth said, I don't know if you guys remember this, but we had this exactly the same feeling 5.5 years ago during the protests and riots and kind of craziness that happened in the summer of 2020. And we continually just push out towards our officers that this too shall pass, and we'll get through this just like we did that. Fire and police, public safety, people in the medical profession, and you folks and other people that work for city staff and any kind of government staff, we all feel it. We all feel like we have to make excuses for or explain or whatever. If I'm being completely honest, this is a federal law enforcement issue, and it's not my issue. I have to deal with some of the fallout that happens here in White Bear Lake, but the citizens of White Bear Lake, the visitors of White Bear Lake, they're the people I'm worried about, and making sure that we serve our people. And so for us to, maybe triage what's important is we say, what is affecting us right now? And that's the thing we have control over. As much as we have control over it, that's the only thing that's the only way we can get through this and still feel like we are playing a part in people's feelings about their safety and security in the city of White Bear Lake.
As always, thank you for your service.
Thank you, ma'am.
Councilmember Edberg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief, is policy 413 the only relevant policy? If I'm going to go looking for understanding what our policies are, is that the only one I need to go looking for, or are there some other numbers that you would want to toss at me?
We have several hundred policies, and I don't
Relevant
know
to this conversation.
I don't know that I could, I could start looking to see fair and ethical treatment type policies and policies that would dictate how we treat our citizens and how we conduct our job. But this is the only one that deals, that I know of, directly with immigration issues. And it spells it out pretty clearly what our roles are, and definitely points out what our roles are not. One of the other things to point out about the policy is that we wanted to ensure everybody's really crystal clear on this policy. So at the end of the policy, we made another addendum that said the sergeant of each shift will ensure that they have a direct training on this policy to make sure that every officer understands what our roles are and what they are not. And that's been carried out perfectly.
So I'm of multiple minds on this conversation. It's a complex conversation. I know that, so I'm not sure that I know all of the levers that we have to play with. What are the various tools, whether they be policy or other, that are available to us? I'm appalled by the treatment of citizens, the disregard for the First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendments particularly. I'm appalled by the action of the federal government in unconstitutionally directing and training its officers to violate the Fourth Amendment through written policy. When Tom Jefferson wrote in 1776, he wrote about the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The next sentence of that declaration says, "To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed." Now, that wasn't his framing. He was quoting John Locke from the late 1600s. His concept that citizens have rights. And he made it clear that a role of government is to secure rights. Now, we also plow snow and do a whole bunch of other stuff, but a core function of government is to secure rights. Now, that's part of our American creed. Is that codified somewhere? Maybe, maybe not, but that clearly is a part of our birthright. It seems to me that a question that it should be before us is, what does it take, what does it look like to protect and serve and to secure rights? And I'm not sure that I know all the answers around that, but I sure would like to. It's possible that we have passed the events this last weekend, horrific as they were, maybe have sparked some changes, maybe not, I don't know. I don't think any of us know what's coming. But I want to be prepared for what that might occur should it continue. And so I'll express to my fellow members that I would be open to engaging a work study session to more fully understand not just our current policies, but our going forward activity. I don't think we know enough to have that conversation tonight, and I think a little piece of education would be in line for all of us, because we are one of those governments, and I'm interested in knowing what are the options available to us under law and city charter that give us leverage. How might we protect individuals from invasions of their Fourth Amendment rights? What does that look like, if anything? I am not naive, and I'm not believing that we are unconstrained. We clearly have limits on our authorities. Whether it is in the current moment or whether it is preparing us for a future moment, I'm interested in knowing and understanding what our stance should be. So I'll just say I'm one member. Now, it takes at least 3 of us to call a meeting, and, well, I'll take that back. Mary, you have the sole authority on your own if you want to call us into session, but I think this is a topic worthy of greater conversation and understanding. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, Councilmember Edberg. Does anyone else have, Ellen?
Hello. All right, bear with me. Chief, I want to let you know I did reach out to some families in our community that I know are deeply impacted by this. And, you know, not everybody, so it doesn't represent others, but I said, you know, do you have any questions you want me to ask on behalf of Chief? And they didn't. And, you know, I understand what Councilmember Edberg was saying too, and I think sometimes when you're part of a group and our residents who maybe the system hasn't always been in your favor and hasn't always worked for you, your first thought isn't to look at the system to fix it when it's not looking for you. You look at your community, and you know, because you've been on the side where you haven't had advantages from the system and you've had to rely on the community and to do that. And so as we pursue, you know, things that we can do on our end, and I want just as much of everyone else up here in that, I also just want to encourage our community to know, you know, there's so much. I mean, I'm, you know, doing those things on behalf, and just that we know up here it takes time and still we don't have all the answers, but also I think that when you come from those, you know, when all this happened, that I turned to community, and our communities are so strong, and it's hard right now when you can't gather together with your community most impacted. But I just want to encourage us and others to, you know, lean into those communities where we can to help one another. And again, thank you for your time, Chief.
Thank you, Councilmember Garola. Councilmember West.
Thank you, Councilmember Garola. I would second the suggestion by Councilmember Edberg to have a work session to discuss this more.
Thank you, Councilmember West. Would anybody else like to say anything about a work session?
I would be for doing that as well.
Okay. All right, so
Thank you, Mayor. We can talk about timing maybe at the end of this meeting to schedule that work session. There are a few slides that I did want to share before we move on, if now maybe the time. Could you help me out?
yes, Ms. Crawford is going to do a small presentation.
Okay, so I just wanted to, actually, the mayor and I really wanted to share some resources with those who may be watching, and you know, we've heard some feedback that there isn't anything on our website, and we thought maybe the council meeting would be the better place to share it than just to put it on a website. So first, if you wish to share your thoughts on federal immigration presence in Minnesota, we do encourage you to reach out to your federal representatives, and those phone numbers are listed here. Through the Office of the Minnesota Attorney General, there's also a federal action reporting form where you may report incidents or effects related to or caused by recent actions of federal agents in Minnesota. So there's that link there. A couple more slides. Immigrant resources, the Immigrant Legal Resource Center. There's a link there that, you know, offers detailed information about rights, and Immigration Law Center of Minnesota, as well as the Minnesota Immigration Rights Action Committee, and both those offer free or low-cost legal services. I think I just have one more slide. Lastly, to locate someone in federal immigration custody, there's a couple of links. There's one link, and then an email and a phone number for the St. Paul ICE field office, as well as the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement online detainee locator system. I did check all of those links. They do work. Some other cities have also been sharing these links. So they're out there for anyone who needs it. But again, in addition to what's been said tonight, I can't reiterate enough that to contact your federal representatives as our local law enforcement does not enforce immigration. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Crawford, will those be on the website?
We don't have a resource yet. I can certainly, if the council desires, put a website, put a page together for those resources. If that, sure.
Does anyone have any thoughts on that? Yes, I think that's a yes.
I will do that.
I'm seeing lots of nodding.
Thank you.
So I think that's a yes.
Yep, we will do that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for the chief? No? Okay. I just really want, Councilmember Edberg, sorry.
Yeah, so Chief, I appreciate the information. I have no doubt about its veracity or anything like that. It's like your word has been golden. I would like us, whether it's through the weekly update or some email, some communication from city manager or whomever, I'd like the council to be kept apprised as we find out what is happening in our community. I'm aware of some of the specific locations you're referring to. If there are others, whatever. But this issue ain't going away anytime soon. And so I think this is not something that's a one and done. I would welcome us to remain apprised, whatever, not exhaustive detail, but relevant detail that you might provide, I would welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Edberg. Anyone else? All right.
I would just say to those watching and online and in the audience, so the council will figure out a date for a future work session and then just watch our website. Work sessions are open to the public. It's not a time for forum. It's really a work session for the city council. So that's where you'd find out what time and when that would be happening. Thank you.
I had one other comment, Chief. I just want to stress to people, I've had a couple questions from people who have been at Railroad Park and have asked me about the police driving by, and I've assured them that you're there to keep calm and present and de-escalation in case anything should happen. And I just want to remind the community that our police officers are there to protect and serve you and keep calm and make sure that everything remains peaceful. And I urge everybody in White Bear Lake to reach out to their neighbors and support their neighbors and community and continue to support our police officers who are going through a very difficult time right now. They work tirelessly to protect and support and build confidence in our community. And I just want to assure the residents of White Bear Lake that they're doing everything they legally can to support our community. And let's stick together as a community here in White Bear Lake. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, moving on. Item 5B, we have a legislative update from Senator Gustafson. Senator Gustafson, thank you for being here.
Thank you all. Certainly feels like a preview of what we'll see next month. So it's good to hear the locals' perspective. And I took notes while you were all talking because you made some excellent points, but I also am so glad that you're here. I have never been more grateful for our local police and law enforcement. Particular White Bear Lake is an extraordinary police department, but also never been more grateful for your training, your de-escalation tactics, your community trust. I feel like we all feel safe calling you. You should be commended for that. You guys have done so much to connect with our community as well that I think, oftentimes you just are just such a staple of it that it takes things like this to make us just realize how special it is what we have here. So thank you. A big part of that is because of you. I've also never been prouder of my community in general. I mean, to watch people just naturally organize without having they don't have to even be asked. A lot of times they find out there's a need and they show up. That's parents, that's teachers, doctors, nurses, neighbors, just showing up. What do you need? I know probably like you, I feel like every morning I wake up and I'm sort of on call, right? Like, what's the need going to be today? And you just get some pretty wild text messages about somebody needs help going to the doctor. I'm low on size 3 diapers, or, and it's just a series of running errands and being helpful. I think when you're feeling stressed like this, you just want to find a use for yourself and you want to be useful. Councilmember Edberg, you brought up some really good points. I think we're at a crossroads right now. You mentioned rights, and I feel like everybody is feeling that stress. I think none of us knew what Operation Metro Surge was going to look like, but I don't think we anticipated this much violence and just this much federal overreach. I mean, we're really at a crossroads where we're wondering how much will we allow to be compromised? How much will we allow to be taken from us? So those are all big questions that we're not going to solve here tonight. I do want to just close because we probably have an online audience that is watching a little bit because of our topic, but the food bank. White Bear Food Shelf and food banks and the community food bank that we have is also spectacular. I serve 9 cities, and I see people from other districts come to use our community food services. It is just amazing what they can do. But even before this happened, they were stretched thin. So now they're even more stretched thin. They have made a point of reaching out to me several times to say, we are open for everyone. We are available to everyone. They have resources I'll let them tell you more about, but I really do want people to, if you're able to contribute or donate, people should think about doing that. And of course, if you need their services, keep that in mind as well. And also, if people are looking for other ways to just help, I feel like I've seen all these people who have never gotten involved in anything like this before coming out of the woodwork. So welcome. We're so happy that people are looking to find out ways to take care of their neighbors. I would say reach out to your schools, your churches, your places of worship. I met with the large group the other day at a local church. We just had coffee and donuts. We just talked about all of this, and it was just something I think everybody needed. So I would say continue to do that. And as far as rights, knowing your rights, and I don't know how many other people looked up the difference between a judicial warrant and an administrative warrant, but these are the times we're in right now. League of Women Voters has some really good information, and then of course, the resources that you shared are amazing too. Those are the ones that we're kind of sharing as well from the state. So appreciate all of what you guys do. It's really hard. It's also hard to have 2 hats on, right? Because just the mundane work of government also has to go on. We are going to be going into session next month. February 17th is our first day. It is a policy year. It is a bonding year. It is not a budget year. So it's also shorter. It's only going to be 3 months. So I'm sure it'll be fast-paced. It's always eventful, but it'll be a fairly short one. I think I looked at my calendar today, which is filling up already pretty quickly, which is great. But I know Days on the Hill are coming up. Hopefully see several of you, many of you, all of you. If not, would love to have coffee. Call me anytime, but just please stay in touch with me. We have some bonding projects, none for White Bear, Vadnais. There's a trail that we're really trying to get through this year. Goes by Bigwood Brewery, so come on over to Vadnais if that goes in. That'd be great to have you. Last year, with some pretty wide support, broad bipartisan support, we passed my bill, the Independent Office of Inspector General, to work on fraud prevention in Minnesota. Also a top priority of mine. I've been working on that for a couple of years. Very happy that it went through the Senate last year. For those who don't know, every bill is in a biennium, so it is still alive. It's just in the House, and fingers crossed that it moves through that process this year. I'm also going to be working on a property tax relief bill that, in addition to the property tax relief, We'll also, we're going to try our best to get another large chunk of funding directly to our local governments, cities. Last time, if you remember, in '23, my bill had $300 million for public safety, and it went to every single city, county, and tribal nation of Minnesota. White Bear Lake got over $1 million. I know, yeah, I know that was useful, and I believe I always use you guys as an example, and I know this wasn't where all of it went, but I know a substantial amount went to buying a new ambulance. Is that correct? Right. Lino was able to pay off some debts, get some new fire equipment. So I know it's useful. It's also the best I can do, considering that not a lot of my cities, in fact, you guys might be one of two that get LGA, and I know it's not enough, and I can't do anything about that, but this is sort of a workaround to try to get cities direct funding, knowing that most of my cities do not get LGA. My favorite story is White Bear Township, who one year got $3, to which I always think is just insulting. Like, maybe just don't even give them anything then. Like,
It costs $6 to send that check.
yeah, I mean, I know, it's like $3 doesn't get you a cup of coffee anymore. So those are things we're working on, and one of the ways that I've really enjoyed working with all of you is your partnership on some of the housing bills that are coming up. And so we will see that housing bill come back. It takes on a different name every time. A lot of times, sometimes it's called missing middle. The intent is something I share, right? We all want more housing, more affordable housing would be wonderful. I think the way they go about it is where we part ways. It's not a housing bill, it's a zoning bill. All 9 of my cities have objections to it, rightfully so. You all have your own planning commissions. You have your own comprehensive plans. So I still stand in support with my cities that is not something I think we should do. But I need your help. It's always tricky. I'm in local state gov, and it always comes down to a very split vote. And so we really, really rely on our cities to put pressure on that committee. So you got me, but there's others that you need to work on. So if that is something that you're inclined to do. I will shout out to your wonderful city manager who has taken the lead, and I should brag about you for a minute here. Not only does she do a wonderful job for White Bear Lake, but if you could be in those meetings with me with other city managers, Lindy is a leader in that group. They all sort of look to her for her expertise on this, and what my favorite thing about her is that when there's an objection to something like this housing bill, she always comes in with solutions. It's not just a complaint, although I'll take the complaints too, but I do like the people who come with solutions as well. So big kudos to her. White Bear Lake is always just top notch, and I really appreciate you guys, and I really like working with you, and I hope that you still all have my numbers and use them often if you ever need anything. And I know we're going to be meeting again on housing soon, so I look forward to that. But other than that, and welcome, Mayor.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you so
Welcome,
much.
Ellen. Yes. I'm sorry, Councilmember Garula.
Does anyone have any questions?
Sorry, you can call me Heather. Get even, yeah.
Councilmember Edberg.
Mayor, I have 4, and I'll let you cut me off after any one of them if I don't want to crowd out others.
Okay.
Senator, thank you for being here, for your past responsiveness to all of our conversations. I think that sense of partnership goes both ways. Thank you.
Good.
I wanted to touch on 4 topics. Biggest one, I'll take these kind of in descending order. What's the state's budget forecast, and do you anticipate that things are we going to be moving into a budget cutting mode that reduces outflows? And I'm particularly interested in LGA. We might be one of only 2, but we are one of 2, and it's like that funding is really important to us. Do you have any prognosis that you can, or wisdom, thought, intuition that you can offer?
Well, as you know, we only do the LGA formula every 10 years, so we're sort of past the point where we can change it. We got to wait until our next chance at that. But that is why I try to be creative with other funding. You know, when we did the $300 million, that had never been done in history or state history before. Not trying to make it anything more than it is, but it hadn't been done before. And so those are the ways that I'm trying to be creative about, to sort of supplement your city budgets. And of course, it's sort of fungible, right? So if you're able to get public safety money, that means that those dollars then could be used for other things. I think the biggest thing there is local control, which we always try to preserve too. Every city is different. All 9 of my cities are very different, so I'm going to let them decide where to best put those dollars. But so that's the LGA answer I have for you, which is probably not great. Yeah, it's probably the top thing that all the
Do you
mayors
see
tell me.
reductions coming?
Do it? Yes, probably. I mean, yeah, we're going to have to, right?
LGA
we have a right.
reductions?
I'm sorry, what?
LGA reductions?
Oh, LGA reduction. Ooh, that one I don't know. I can find out, but that I don't know specifically. We have a surplus right now. What we're worried about is the tails. So those are always difficult conversations to have, you know, much like families do with their own budget. You know, some people want to cut this and others want to cut that. But yeah, we have to be responsible with our tax dollars and try to do that every year. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. We always try. There's a lot of, the legislature is one big giant group project. So if you like group projects, it's great. But it can also be very frustrating too. So yeah.
Let me shift to a second topic. Our community has not been excessively successful at even trying for bonding dollars. Whether that's a failure on our part, we look around and say, oh, look at what everybody else is hitting up their legislators for. We had one little run at it that was unsatisfactory a couple of years ago. Do you have any guidance, suggestion of how we might more effectively use that tool?
I do. I mean, you have the last one that White Bear Lake got was, I believe, the Bruce Vento Trail, which was more of a regional goal instead of specific to White Bear. I'm learning as I go. You know, as a first-term senator, I admit I did not know how to play the bonding game my first year, but I'm learning. My tips and tricks: 1, identify what your needs are early. If you can make the case that your project will be for the betterment of not just White Bear Lake, but also surrounding areas, that is also helpful. That's why trails usually are something that kind of rise to the top. Plus, trails are sometimes on the less expensive side of things. Also, bipartisan support. You know, we need to have people from both sides of the aisle support a bonding bill for it to go through. So that's why sometimes they might be representatives that aren't necessarily in your district, but they're usually a very local bill, so that doesn't always apply. And then also just determine a need. If you come in with a plan too, and you're not just coming to the state for the whole thing, and you can put up half of it and you're asking for half. The successful one, probably the most successful one, ironically enough, was my first year where I had to fight really hard. We kept getting a no, and then, you know, finally you just, you know, you do your things in the back to say, like, if you don't do this, then I won't do this. But we got a $13.5 million water treatment center in Lino Lakes who desperately needed one. But the case that we made, or that I made, was that that helps everybody. We have a water issue in White Bear, if you haven't heard. And so one of the things that that we were able to say was, doing this will help the water health of all their surrounding areas as well. Plus, at the time, I believe Lino Lakes had 5 water towers, and only one of them was, the water was consistently safe for consumption. I know. So water will outrank a trail. That being said, fight for those dollars and let me help you. Sometimes hiring a lobbyist is helpful. That's up to you. But identify it and let me know how I can help. If we don't fight for the dollars, they all go to the Iron Range. So I love Grant Hochschild. He's a dear friend of mine and one of my good friends in the Senate. But there are places that have just, they're better at identifying projects for bonding, better than some of us are. And so I don't know if that's just because we haven't been doing it for years and we're kind of all new to it. But yeah, identify those things as early as you can. And we don't always get them. It's hard, but there are some tricks, and I'm happy to help. That's my job. So yeah.
I'll go to my last question, Mayor, if I may. So you mentioned affordable housing. First of all, I greatly appreciate the roles that you have played in the past 4 years on shifting focus on some of the bills that have been introduced, not supporting them, finding other avenues, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you. A tweak in that has been the recent legislation around low income and affordable housing funding, funded by some tax dollars. We're having some of those conversations about what might a project look like, where would it go, whom would benefit, all that kind of good stuff. But I think there are some needs, and we've acknowledged internally some need for tweaking some of the state regs on how long we get to hold, manage, and prepare funds for expenditure. And I just want to flag that as a topic that might be coming to your desk at some point in time. I think maybe somebody wants to either step on my foot or speak in support.
Thank you, Councilmember Edberg. Speak in support, because our next agenda item, which if you have time you should stay for, is our legislative priorities agenda, and that is part of our overall housing opposition, but that's part of our ask, is that you allow cities to expand those LAHA funds so we can truly do something worthwhile with them. So, I won't cut you off. It's just a segue to the next one.
I always like to know what's coming before state local gov committee, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? Councilmember Walsh.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to pick up on the bonding issue, you kind of teed it up pretty well. It drives me nuts. I'll just say it just drives me nuts as a local government person, because, you mentioned Senator Hauschild. They have a brand new ice rink in Hermantown. The regional value of that, I guess, is when opposing teams come to play, they can play in a brand new ice rink. And it's not your fault. Trust me, this has been going on forever. And I don't know what to do about it. I don't know what you can do about it, except that just hear the frustrations, because we have not gone out, we have not played the game. We did with the public safety building, actually got bit by it because we delayed it to ask, and then there was no bill that year. It's not like we got to know, everybody got to know, there was no bill. And then we got to do it ourselves, and we went out to rebid, and the cost just skyrocketed. I mean, so we took a risk, didn't work out. But you look at any given bonding bill over the years, there's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 public safety buildings in there for cities around the state of Minnesota, just like ours, except we paid for that one and ours. So just, we have done it ourselves here in White Bear Lake. Even you say, Lionel Lake's a water treatment facility. We have a water treatment facility. We're looking at it in our 10-year, 20-year CIP plan when we have to spend money to upgrade it, get new equipment. We have kept up here. I mean, we have done a really, really good job on forethinking or looking ahead. Our sewer system, our line sewer system, the lead issue, the lead pipe issue came up years ago. We had taken care of that already. In our state, I watch every other community in the state get money for that. We think ahead, we plan ahead, we pay for it ourselves, and I don't get punished, but I feel like a sucker sometimes, but this is the way I'd want to do it anyway. But if there was any way at some point there have been efforts at the Capitol to really clamp down on projects that don't have a regional or even it used to be a statewide benefit, and then we kind of allow for a regional benefit. I think there was one bonding bill, I'm gonna go way back like 1999 but in 99, I'm pretty sure it was the 99 bonding bill, might be the only bonding bill I remember that was truly statewide projects and only statewide projects. And Jim Knobloch was the chair of that bill that year. He just kept everything out that was a local plan. It's got to be all or nothing, because if you let one in, then everybody else wants to get in. But if you can say no regional project or no local projects in the bonding bill, but you can even get through the whole process with that, and then it goes in the back room, and then the governor's involved, and it's this global deal that has to get cut for everything, and whoops, all these little projects go in, and I get it, but anyway, that's my my rant.
You used to work at the legislature.
That's my rant, but we do it right here, and we think ahead, and we pay for things ourselves, and we have not played that game, and we ought to think maybe we ought to try again at some point to play that game again. Strategically with your help, and Representative Kern's here too. I mean, just to get our local help to try again. But we got burned last time we did it, and the price of that building went up, just because of supply chain and everything else, so.
I mean, I agree with you.
That's my
I think
rant,
it should be
so.
roads, bridges, water, trails. I mean, things that are a little bit more what the public expects them to go to. So, but yeah, I mean, get creative. Think about something that we could work towards. Happy to help with anything I can.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? All right. Thank you, Senator Gusserson.
Thank you.
Next up on our agenda is our legislative priorities. If you want to stay, we invite you to stay. Item 8A, our 2026 legislative priorities agenda. Ms. Crawford.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So beginning in 2021, the City Council has annually adopted a legislative priorities agenda. And then once it's been adopted, council members and staff and I work with our representative and our senator to talk about, how can we advance our priorities forward. The 2025 legislative priorities agenda moved forward with some success, following again the hard work of staff and our council. Working with our legislators. The City Council held a work session on January 20th to discuss potential legislative priorities agenda or priorities for the upcoming year. I apologize, I did not have time to make a slide tonight, but a narrative for the potential priorities agenda is in the packet. So I believe it was in this order that we discussed that they should be listed in at the work session, but I'm looking for feedback from the council before you adopt the final agenda. So I'll just take a minute to read what they are. We're proposing 5 at this point. And so the first one is support legislation which prioritizes safety, defines permissible operation areas, establishes reasonable speed and age guidelines, and provides clarity for enforcement regarding electric assisted bicycles and the like. The second one, oppose legislation that would limit or preempt local government zoning authority. And that's the one that has the LAHA in it in the narrative, but perhaps we should beef up that kind of our opening statement. The third, support legislation to increase revenues for deputy registrars to maintain office viability and support customer needs through sharing the online filing fees collected by the Minnesota Department of Public Safety from driver and vehicle services transactions and increasing filing fees on those transactions. That's for our license bureau, which is definitely a regional benefit, I'll just say. The fourth one, oppose legislation that would allow for single stairway in multifamily residential buildings. This kind of goes to the legislation that would limit or preempt local government zoning authority. And then the last one, support legislation providing funding for law enforcement training. We know that that's an existing fund that the city just wants to ensure that that fund continues. We don't have a reason to think it is going away, but want to make sure that that's also included. So just for the council and those watching, the city is also a member of the League of Minnesota Cities and Metro Cities. Both organizations also create annual legislative priority agendas, and our 2026 priorities generally align with those current priorities, current or previous priorities from the League of Minnesota Cities and Metro Cities. And then I also sit on one of the policy committees for the League of Minnesota Cities as well. So with that, I will just pause if council has any guidance or suggestions to add or remove to those priorities.
Councilmember.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just going to second what Councilmember Edberg said about the LAHA money, I always forget what it's called, local and I got to get right here, local affordable housing aid, LAHA, local affordable housing aid. It's an unfortunate acronym, LAHA. But the timing on it, I think, is for some of the ideas that we might have to spend that. The restrictions are, I looked it up here. Funds must be committed to a qualifying project by December 31st in the 3rd year, and then expended by December 31st in the 4th year after the money is received. So we're getting a pretty hefty sum of money from the state fund through the sales tax increase, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that. There's lots of different ways, and we haven't spent enough time as a council to start thinking about how we're going to spend that. But if we wanted to do something big, we can't really save up money and do something big, and it's restricted because we gotta keep the money moving. Every third or fourth year, we got to have the money out the door. So I don't think it's unreasonable to trust cities to make good decisions, and I don't think people are going to build up a huge surplus. It doesn't really help you to build up a huge surplus because it's restricted, really restricted in terms of how you can fund it with mostly low-income housing ideas and services and things like that. So I think that I do like your idea too of adding that. We didn't even talk about this the other night. I forgot all about this, and it is in the text, thankfully, that's here. But maybe in that second bullet point, that second one, yes, opposing legislation that would limit or preempt local government zoning authority, and then maybe just add a sentence and change the timing on the LAHA money. I think that's really important for White Bear Lake going forward. So thanks for bringing that up, Kevin.
Councilmember Edberg.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. City Manager, you have done a fine job of incorporating our thinking into the text and into our previous conversations. We know and understand why, if we're going to do a project, if we're going to build, support, partner on the development of affordable housing, we're talking 7 digits or 8 digits versus worth of financing. Yes, we are receiving 6 digits, and the first one is usually 1 or 2 or it's 3. Okay. So it'll take a while for that to aggregate to the point of making a meaningful contribution to the finance stack for a new project. And I think that is my focus, and I think we're all in alignment that yes, having access to resources to be intentional about the development of affordable housing is a good thing. Yes, we have some needs in this community that would benefit from that. But let's be realistic about how long we're going to have to save up in order to put together an affordable finance stack that can build that housing. So that's where I'm going. I'm comfortable where I don't feel a need to word craft more of our, I'd authorize the city manager to draw on the language that we have approved and how we frame it. If somebody wants to wordsmith tonight, we can do that, but I don't feel a need for that. But I do want to, are we in agreement as a council on that as a priority? I think we should be in alignment on that one. That's.
Is everyone in agreement on that? Yes, I'm seeing yes from everyone. Yes.
Okay. I think I may, Mayor, I think I may wordsmith that just to add an and in that, because there's much more in the narrative on what we would support for local government and zoning authority and what we are in opposition to. As Senator Gustafson said, I do have a meeting with her later this week and another senator to talk about that, because we have come up with well, maybe she left, but we have come up with solutions that work in White Bear Lake that may be able to work in other communities too, rather than just simply saying no. So, and that is in our packet, but expanding on the LAHA is, I think, is a good idea in the narrative. So I would do that if the council's okay with that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so council, we have a resolution to adopt for the 2026 legislative priority agenda. Do we have a motion?
To approve.
Second. We have a second. Is there any further discussion from anyone?
Well, we should add lowering income taxes. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes.
I make jokes.
Okay, item 9, discussion. There's nothing scheduled for discussion. Item 10, communication from the city manager, Ms. Crawford.
Thank you, Mayor. Just circling back on when you may want to have that proposed work session, it may be, since I have you all in the room, it would be great, selfishly, if I could get you to schedule that work session if you're interested in looking at dates now. Or if you don't have your calendars, you can get back to me. The soonest that you could have that work session would be Monday. You do have to have 3 days' notice in order for that work session to happen.
Do we have time before or after an upcoming council, like the next council meetings in February? Should we schedule it earlier than that? I'm open to discussion.
Councilmember Edberg, I don't have the February 10th agenda worked out yet, except for there are going to be several land use items on that one. So, it's entirely up to you how late you want to meet in the evening. So we can always do that, but.
Also, just to jump in, I assume you want me present at this?
Oh, yes, I do.
Just a heads up, so next Monday, I have a council meeting in another city. Next Tuesday is an election night, so we can't meet next Tuesday under state law. And next Wednesday, I have a council meeting in another city. So my schedule's a little bit
right.
limited, which I apologize for.
No, thank you.
I like using a date we're already going to be here, so maybe February 10th,
February 10th.
you know, that's easier for me.
Is that picture night?
Yes.
Yes, it's
We'll look
picture
nice
night.
when we're talking about
Nice
this.
and talk sweetly.
Can I
I'll
just
look nice.
add?
I'll look nice.
So I was at the Planning Commission last night, and which was talking about these items that'll be on the agenda for the 10th. And if it's anything like last night, I left at 10 o'clock.
Oh, no.
So I don't know that it's going to be like that, but I have a concern.
For the 10th, you have a concern?
Yes.
You could meet before the meeting. I mean, I think, what time are pictures at 6:30?
6:30?
So, I mean, you could meet as early as 5:30, but, you have an hour then.
Works for
It's
me.
really up to
Does that
you.
work? Does it work?
Yep.
Does it work for you?
Works.
Okay. Does it work, Steve, for you?
Also gives us a cutoff time.
Yes.
Some
At 5:30?
yeah.
5:30. Councilmember Engstrand, does it work? Okay. What? Councilmember West? All right. Everyone.
We'll go ahead
All right.
and get that scheduled, and the city attorney and chief and I will work on some information for that meeting. That's all I have. Thank you. I'll send calendar invites too.
All right. All right, thank you. So our next item up, item 11, is a closed session. So we now need to go into a closed session pursuant to Minnesota State Statutes, Section 13D.05, Subdivision 3B, which authorizes the council to hold an attorney-client privilege closed session under certain circumstances. Our attorney from Kennedy and Graven are present to discuss active litigation between the City of White Bear Lake and White Bear Township related to a fire service contract dispute. The need for confidentiality in discussing this matter with our attorneys outweighs the purpose of the open meeting law because legal counsel intends to candidly discuss recent developments and provide legal advice on how to proceed. Allowing these discussions to happen in an open session would jeopardize the city's legal position. Therefore, I request the motion to go into a closed session pursuant to the Minnesota State Section 13D.05, Subdivision 3B, to discuss the above described matters.
So moved.
Second, all approved?
Aye.
All right.
All right, we are in a closed session.
And do you want to?
Yeah, so